Hello everyone, welcome back to my Let's Play series on SimCity 4. It's been like 2 years since I last made a video, so it's quite strange that I suddenly came back, but I have been actively trying to help people who commented on my video. I thank those that gave me nice feedback and praise for my older videos, and I guess SimCity is just a game that I really like, so I'm back with some videos. If you ask me what have I been up to these past 2 years, actually I've been pretty busy. After making the tutorial on the advanced, making an advanced city, I have enrolled into a university, and it's already the end of my second year, so time really flies. And unfortunately, for some reason or another, I've been really busy and also procrastinating. I guess I just didn't feel the drive to make any more SimCity 4 videos. But I still played once in a while, but there was some point of time where I got really bored of the game because it felt like I didn't have any like creative inspirations to make a new video. But actually, there were a lot of videos that I made that I didn't publish because I just didn't took the effort to actually add commentary to these videos. So for this video that you're looking right here, it is actually an old city that I made. It's called Spandau, and it is one of my cities that I tried to make using trains and many themes of a city, be it the nice rural areas, the industrial zones, and also a nice coastal part of the city. If you remember this, this was from like 2 or 3 years ago, and what I'm doing right here is actually just building my suburbs. So I like to try to make a city as organic as possible. I want to show that it is possible. Of course, I wouldn't say this is like totally not cheating or something, because I have used many plugins like this train station and many other things. So you realize that there are actually many buildings that do not exist in Maxis itself. I downloaded them from Simtropolis, and so this helps to make the city look nicer because there are a lot of interesting buildings that the city can use when they are building the new stuff, instead of just the conventional buildings that Maxis already has. If you notice my roads, I also use a different plugin for that. It makes the road look more like European in a sense, and it's darker and more striking. As you can see here, I'm trying to like improve the city, and as the years go by, it's the 28th year now, the city will have a higher land value because you have built schools and hospitals, and this will help to improve the education level of the Sims. So as you can see here, the high wealth residential houses are starting to come up, and it is very pretty. So you can actually see that which houses are more high wealth by just looking at how pretty they are. And right here, I'm just trying to find a place to put my stock exchange. I want to put it somewhere at a coastal area where there's a lot of commercial buildings. My idea of this sector was to actually create like many offices around the shore, so that it will look like a lot of like coastal cities like New York or like California. You know, those cities that are close to the coast, usually they grow the biggest buildings because historically these are the places where ships landed first. They had ports, and that's where trade was thriving when there was no trains. I mean, there might have been trains, but people use ships for trading, so the coastal areas are the ones that are usually the largest. Sorry. Having some sore throat here. And as you move further inland, the houses get smaller. You get to the downtown, I mean the uptown area, and the suburbs as well. So I'm just trying something different here. Okay, so what happened is that before you try to build breakwater, you have to put these roads to flatten the land and to make it even. So I actually have never tried this before, but what happens is that after you build these roads, they will flatten out the land, and you can actually demolish them and build the breakwater itself. It's like a wall that stops the water from coming into a city. Many coastal cities have that, especially very dense areas, because it helps to protect the buildings against a flood if there's a hurricane or if the rain is very big, and so on. So it makes the city more pretty, because instead of having just a very long cliff on the city area, you have this very sharp looking like seawall or breakwater. Actually, it's more like a seawall that it helps to make the city look more pretty. So it's made of concrete, as you can see here. And what happens is that when you construct them, the land is not really very flat. So I'm just trying my best to make it as even as possible, but it's not really possible. Yeah, what happens is that when you try to build the breakwater, I mean the seawall, or whatever you call it, you have to try to make the terrain as even as possible. So you try to make it on the same level and not like one level higher or lower. So I'm trying to make them as equal level as possible, but it takes quite a while. And this will help to actually make the seawall look nicer, because the seawall, the concrete tiles will join naturally instead of just having like sudden increase or decrease in elevation. So it's gonna take a while to make the seawall. In the meantime, I would like to talk about my channel as a whole. What's my directions? I'm very happy that many people gave me feedback and comments on how to improve on my tutorials. I do agree that I mean, even though English is my first language as a Singaporean, but for us, we don't have that accent that Americans or British have. So if I speak too fast, it will be very difficult for many people to understand what I'm trying to say. So after thinking about it for very long and listening to my old videos, which sometimes was a bit weird to listen to, because, well, it's strange listening to your own voice, but I've decided to talk more slowly and articulate more clearly and not rush when I talk, because sometimes it feels like I'm out of breath when I'm talking, which is not really good. Yeah, and there are many interesting comments made on my tutorial videos, like where did you come from? I don't understand any word you said, or like this tutorial is not really good and stuff like that. But of course, there are other people that appreciate it as well. So I guess like it is pretty interesting. Like, I wonder, it was strange because like I knew I wasn't the best speaker, but I guess because I like the game a lot and wanted to share my videos, or maybe like show off my cities as a whole, and like my thought process when making each city. So I decided to make these videos. That was like 4 years ago, and I never looked back ever since. But of course, sometimes I had like long hiatus, like breaks, where I stopped making videos for a long time. So I guess it's an on and off thing. My I'm a bit figure-minded, and sometimes it's not really easy to make videos as well, because I try to keep it like creative and different, because many people make let's play series, many people make tutorials, and they have traits that are better than me. For instance, they speak better, they sound better, and they are more harmonious. And for me as an Asian, it's definitely a disadvantage that we can't really speak like English in the accent that people like. But yeah, I'm still trying, and I think I try to show my cities in a way that show my creative style of making cities in general. I want to show like the power of like SimCity 4 in actually like creating very distinct, very unique cities. Like the possibilities are almost endless. Like 3000 was more about the gameplay, more about the fun, but when you reach SimCity 4, you realize that people actually make so many of these type of extra tools, extra plugins that you can use, like this seawall, that you can actually make your city look so realistic. And if you take a look out there at the videos or like at websites like Simtropolis, people share their realistic looking cities, and it is super pretty, it's super nice. It's like they took so much time to make it, and it looks exactly like how a city will look like in real life, almost. Of course, the models show that it's not really a real city, but you just get the vibe that it is very natural looking. And as you can see here now, I'm still building my seawall. So what happens is that you can click the control button to switch around different angles to choose the correct seawall for each tile, because like sometimes your tile has to be straight, sometimes it has to be the corner tile, sometimes it has to be diagonal like now, and diagonals are really hard to make. So I'm just trying my best, and yeah, it's called an embankment set. So whatever you call it, a seawall or an embankment, or I don't know, breakwater, you can try to install this and make it yourself. So the key point here is to make sure that your cliff is high enough. That's the first thing. It's not a shore, it's not a beach. And secondly, you can use this road method to actually flatten out your land so that they have the same elevation. That's the most important thing. They have the same elevation, and so that when you put the concrete tiles, as you can see here, the tiles actually join together instead of having like weird elevation, like a sudden drop where you don't expect people to walk, because you know, like suddenly the entire set of tiles just drop by a lot. So I'm sort of more or less done finally. And another thing you need to take note of when you build these embankment sets is that you have to make sure that your cliffs are not very weird shape looking. It has to be very obvious. Like you need to imagine that this is a straight part of the embankment, and you proceed to do that. Like it cannot like curve too much in a sense. It has to be very straight, and if you want it to bend inwards, you have to bend in very diagonally in a sense, like not very abruptly. For instance, like I don't really know how to explain this, but if your embankment has like terrain that suddenly like protrudes outward, like for many square tiles suddenly, then you wouldn't be able to build an embankment because it is too curved. So if you take a look at my embankment that I put here, it's not really very. I mean, some parts like this are very protruding. So as you can see here, like this is a very weird terrain. So when you have like very strange terrain that can't fit into any embankment, what happens is that you won't get the nice seawall that you want. So it takes a lot of effort to actually like make the elevation even and predictable, so that you can actually build all these walls. So this gives the impression of a modern city. In many modern cities, you actually have this type of walkways that help to keep the citizens from like I know, from being stupid, even though they still do, but it also protects the city from like floods, and it is a very natural feature of big cities in general, and I like that a lot. I think in SimCity 4 we hardly have any pavements like this to showcase. There are plugins, there are some like things that you can build to have this type of walkways, but generally it's very few and far between. So to give the impression that this is a very dense city, remember this is my coastal area, so my aim is to actually build very large and dense commercial and residential. So by holding down control, I can actually build 3x3 or 4x4 buildings, as you can see here. And what happens is that when you zone the commercial and residential zones, of course the high density, they are so dense, they easily build into a big building, instead of building into small houses or buildings, small shops that you don't want. You want the coast to be as big as possible, so you have to zone these big zones like 3x3 or 4x4 or 4x3. So as you can see here, I'm trying to put some parks like gazebos and fountains to beautify my city, because if you only use like residential and commercial zones, it's gonna look very boring. So I'm trying to like reconstruct my coast a little bit with the roads, and try to use the natural elevation properly and squeeze as many like residential and commercial zones as I can. And for these are blank zones, sometimes I do fit in like a swimming pool or a fountain and stuff like that. So this swimming pool was actually made by myself. It is actually very easy to make. You can go to the SimCity 4 editor and you go to a plaza and you remove the fountain or whatever that is, and you find the tool for a swimming pool and put it in and save it as a new building file. That way when you access it again, you can actually find a swimming pool. So it's a little bit hard for me to explain here, but there are tools like that, so you can check it out, how to make your own simple SimCity 4 buildings. You don't need to use a complicated program like the building architecture tool or something like that, BAT. You can make simple buildings. So meanwhile, I'm trying to put some trees onto my coast. So this helps to beautify the city and it makes it look more natural. So this is my commercial region. As you can see, it's filled with very nice buildings here, and I'm trying to like prepare the new region for growth. So once the buildings come up, it will look even nicer. And now I go back to the coast to actually put some trees. So I've paused the simulator, and because like these areas are quite shallow and it is really hard for me to build the embankments, so what I did was to actually just plant trees on the shore to beautify it. And these trees will grow larger in time to come, and it will beautify the city and also reduce the pollution. So this is how my city looks like. We have the large buildings at the coast, and moving inwards the city we have smaller uptowns and suburbs, and finally the industrial areas at the corner there. But do take note when you build these dense areas like this coastal district, you have to make sure that the traffic is very good. Okay, meanwhile, they are growing. We have a Hooters. Alright, so these are the funny things that you can get from Simtropolis. So we have nice buildings, but sometimes they are repeats, so we just be patient and wait a while for the buildings to grow. Make sure that your commercial demand is high enough, and if you don't like the same building, you can demolish it. And once you have the building that you really want, you can use the query tool and make it historical, so that will keep the building. So I'm demolishing some shark buildings because they look the same, and I want some variation in my city. So we have to wait a while for the larger buildings to come up, and you have to make sure that you have a demand for these commercial or residential buildings before you build the highly dense regions. Because if you don't have the demand, the RCI demand, then there's no use zoning these dense zones if your buildings don't grow. I mean, in this case, if the residential and commercial don't grow because of the lack of demand, this means that you actually have a lack of industries because probably the industrial demand will be high. So this is my suburb, and it's a very simple and nice suburb with trains and streets. So going back to my topic, yeah, this is my second town. So yeah, you have to make sure that you have the demand before zoning the regions. It's simple demand and supply. So it's impossible for the RCI demand to have a lack of demand for every zone. It's either high demand in residential, commercial, or industrial, or all three. It depends, you know, like if everything the demand is low, if the demand of everything is low, it just means that you have not, perhaps your taxes are too high, or there's something really wrong with your city. Or it could be that the neighboring city has taken up all the demand of your zones. So what you have to do is to actually like slowly get back the demand by growing stuff that are more low density in general. So as you can see here, the commercial district is growing and we have some very interesting buildings. So I'm gonna make them historical. And yeah, it does look quite nice. It gives the vibe of a coastal city. So that's what I like about it. And yeah, you can do many things in SimCity 4. Well, this district is quite nice because we have like fountains and all. So it's important to build all these fountains and plazas, because once the big buildings come up, then you realize that, you know, like if you don't have any like places of interest, then the city looks kind of boring in general. So I have many weird add-ons, like you can put logs on the floor, you can build like pine trees, coniferous trees, and so on. So you can try to find them. And this tab here allows you to choose the building styles that your city has. If I'm not wrong, this Corp Shoreline is also a downloaded building. So in general, users have actually made really nice buildings that you can download. This will help to enhance the beauty of your city. Because if you take a look at my city now, even so, there are a lot of repeat buildings. These repeat buildings are actually Maxis buildings. And if there's too many of them, your city won't look very nice. And same goes for the industrial zones. You have to get new buildings so that your industrial zones look more interesting in general. Of course, you can play SimCity vanilla, like not have any plugins. That's fine as well, because I used to do that. I guess, I mean, you can try that first and learn how to build a big city, but after a while, you realize that actually you want a city that looks natural and a city that has more variation. And when that happens, you just get very tempted to actually get these plugins for new houses and commercial buildings and stuff like that. So this train station is actually one of the plugins that I downloaded, the Jason CW small train station. It is very good because it is very small and the design is very nice. Usually you have this flat train station like the passenger train stations that are very big. But if you want a more modern looking train station, you can consider installing the Jason CW train station. Actually, this city, I mean, I still have it, but the SimCity 4 on my computer I sort of uninstalled it for some reason. Perhaps because I was bored, but one day I might just come back to this city and continue developing it and post more videos about it. Meanwhile, on the direction of my videos, I might try to make more Let's Play series. Actually, I have some SimCity 5 footage that I didn't upload because I thought it wasn't good enough, but perhaps I will try uploading some and adding commentary onto it. So usually I will add commentary after building the city because I can't really multitask for some reason. Yep. And avenues are good because if you expect your city to be very big, very dense, then a single road is going to make it really crowded, and so you have to build avenues. And it makes the city look nicer as well. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, you know, when I speak too fast, I tend to like garble the words. As you can see here, I'm trying to put some railways onto the city. Well, the difficult part about building railways is that if you have already built a city, you'll realize that it is really hard to fit in the railway into a built city because there's simply no space. Because as you can see here, I have a lot of space, so I can play around with the rails and slowly build the train stations and the railway tracks. But if your city is fully built, then you need to demolish many things. And so it is best that you build the railway tracks before you build the city itself, so that you know you have lesser trouble. And these adjacent CW train stations save up a lot of space because the large train stations, they are only 1x3 in size, so they are very small compared to a normal passenger train station, and they have a higher capacity as well. So you can say that it's a little bit like cheating, but at the same time, like, I'm not trying to aim for like a city that is like not cheating in a sense. I'm trying to make a city that's realistic. So everyone has different expectations, everyone has different aims when they play their city. So it's up to you how you want to play SimCity. You can play it like you're trying to earn money, you can play it like you're trying to develop a nice looking city, or maybe both, it depends. But right now I'm really rich, like I have $3 million, so there's no need to play like on survival mode. So it is a bit tricky to build railway tracks because sometimes you need to join them together. You can do this slant railway thing to actually like link the railways together. And if you build a cross intersection on a railway, it doesn't really link up, you know, like the trains cannot cross. So you have to build the railway tracks at an angle to join another railway track, if you get what I mean. If not, you can refer to my advanced tutorial on SimCity 4. In that tutorial, at the very start of the video, one of the more viewed videos of my channel, if you look at the start of the tutorial, you will see that the railway tracks actually are joined in a way that allows them to flow. Like as you can see, these railway tracks, like, they have to bend in order to join together. You cannot use like 90-degree intersections, they just won't join. They are not like roads. For SimCity 3 it works, but for SimCity 4 it doesn't. So there are some tricks that you can use to join intersecting railways tracks. And I've showed them in the older videos, so you can take a look, the advanced tutorial for SimCity 4 at the very start of the video. So you just need to watch like the first 10 minutes. So right now I'm just building like bus stops. These bus stops are also like custom made, they have a higher capacity and they look more modern looking. There's black bus stop and there's a blue bus stop and there's a red bus stop as well. So do take a look. And for a very efficient city, try to use both train stations and bus stops. But if you don't use train because they are too troublesome, then just put bus stops at least. It will help a lot in the traffic. And when you have lower traffic, you have lower pollution as well. And lower pollution is very important because it ensures that high-tech industries grow, because high-tech industry, they hate pollution. But at the same time, when you zone for industrial zones, there's going to be a lot of manufacturing and dirty industries. So you either demolish them like now, or you have to keep the taxes high so that they don't grow that fast. So you keep the taxes of the dirty and manufacturing industries high so that they don't grow, and try to promote a high-tech industrial sector in your city by keeping the pollution low and demolishing the manufacturing and dirty industries. You can still have some of these polluting industries, but not too much in the areas that you want to build high-tech industries. Of course, if you want to build a high-tech industry sector like what I did like a few minutes ago, you need to ensure that you have a demand for that. And the demand comes from a high education level. Seriously, like a high education level. You need schools, you need to build a university. When the rewards come up, they will remind you to build a university, just build it. And in like 20 years or 10 years, the high-tech industry will start to boom. And of course, you need a sufficient population as well. So right now, I can build this double train station. So it's quite nice. It's a double rail train station. It has a higher capacity, but sometimes the connections can be a bit tricky. So you need to demolish and slowly try to figure a way out. You might need to demolish more buildings to actually link up the railway tracks. Yeah, as I was saying, like you need to have like a demand for the high-tech industries before you can actually build a high-tech industry zone. And high-tech industries will provide a lot of money for your city, so do not neglect that. They often provide more money than commercial offices. So of course, residential will provide the most income in terms of taxes, and then next will be industrial, and next will be commercial. In general, I would say. I'm having a lot of trouble trying to link up the rails. For some reason, like you cannot put a train station too near an avenue. I mean, you should, but sometimes you just can't link up the routes. So you just have to like try something else. Like if it's unable to link up, then you just have to accept it. Yeah, this place is very tricky. For these blank zones, you can build parks and stuff too, because you know, to add some variation to your industrial parks in general. And if you have any it's kind of sore throat. If you have any ideas on like what videos do you want me to make, just leave a comment and I'll try to make it, and I'll try to create some interesting content for all of you. But I guess like this game is so old. This SimCity 3 is like 16 years old, and SimCity 4 is like a little bit younger, but like 12 or something. It is a really old game, so I don't really expect many people to watch this, but yeah, if you are watching this right now, I thank you, and hopefully this tutorial this let's play or this tutorial gave you some inspiration on how to build your cities. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. So universities are very important for high-tech industries, so if there's a strike, make sure you increase the capacity. But do not put the capacity of the university at its maximum, because you'll be paying a lot of money for students that are not there. So a lot of buildings cost a lot of money, like all these like educational buildings and stuff. You have to lower the capacity so that you save the money, but at the same time there's more than enough space for the students to study, so that you can save up your city expenses in general. So as you can see here, these railway tracks are very complicated. you can build simpler railway tracks, you don't need to make it so complicated. But if you anticipate your city to be very large, why not consider building a double railway station like this if you install this plugin. It looks very nice, very modern looking like many European cities, and it has a significantly larger capacity to transport the passengers in general. Oh yes, talking about like new games, I know there's been like City Skylines, like this game. It is like a successor to SimCity 4 because people felt that SimCity 5 was quite a failure, which I partly agree. I mean, it was fun, but something was lacking. Like the city size was too small and it was restricted. It looked like a comic game. Like you couldn't design your city as pretty like this like SimCity 4. Even though the graphics were older, but it looked more realistic in general because there were so many options to choose from. So now up comes a new game called City Skylines, and it has shown a lot of promise. Like I've been watching some videos and I'm really tempted to try it out and upload some videos, and it will definitely be more popular than my SimCity 4 videos. Of course, I still like SimCity 4 and 3 a lot. Just that I would like to try something new as well. Hopefully there's a Steam discount. Like if you all spot any discounts, do tell me, I'll buy it and I'll try it out. Of course, it's going to take a while for me to learn, but it looks very fun and it is 3D as well. You can rotate the camera, you can install nice buildings, and some people build really big cities, really nice cities like roundabouts and stuff. So I'm looking forward to play Skylines as well, but you know, like life's a beach. You can get quite busy sometimes, and yeah, I wonder if I can post these videos, but I'll try my best. And if I don't post, well, you can still ask me questions because I'll still be there. I'll still be here on this channel, so just ask away. Any questions that you have about city building, just ask me and I will try my best to help out. So the thing about building cities is that you must have an idea, like where's the industrial zones and whether you want it to be high-tech industry or manufacturing industries, like a place where a lot of smoke comes out and stuff like that. And you can build suburbs, you can build uptowns, downtowns, coastal cities, and so on. So this is what Spannerdown has been trying to do. And yeah, with that, I'm going to end my Let's Play series today. Hope you enjoyed. And I guess I'll see you soon.